Awesome. Yay. Okay, so we are live. Welcome, everybody, to our coffee chat today. I'm so excited to welcome you guys here and to have a chat with Jen. And I am just going to close out some tabs real quick just so we don't get any weird back noise. Jen, I cannot wait to hear about your book.
Awesome.
I am all about quantum and conscious creation, and you've got some really cool things going on. So will you do us a favor and just kind of introduce us, like tell us a little bit about you and the books that you've got going on?
Sure. Yeah, so I'm an author and I write fiction and nonfiction. The main topic that actually, let me bring my mic over here. The main topic that I tend to cover now is around manifesting and acting as if and stepping into the dream life version of yourself and all of that. I have written 16 books. Like I said, some are fiction, some are nonfiction. And
no way.
yeah, so I've been writing, my first book came out in 2010, so it's been a long time. But I didn't find the topics that I really enjoyed the most until the last few years when I started to notice that I had a process for manifesting that actually changed my life, and I wanted to share that with people. So I started to write about it and talk about it. But before that, I was writing books for writers and authors, so people who wanted to also be an author. And so I think it's just been an evolution through all of that, and it's been a lot of fun, and it's really cool to be here now. So
Fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and press record so we get this, just in case. You never know what happens on the other end.
right, yeah.
Tech issues happen all the time. It's one of the reasons why I love a low tech business.
Right, yeah, exactly.
We keep it as low tech as possible. 16 books, that's amazing. So when did you, by the way, for those of you that I don't know, I haven't even introduced myself. So I'm Chris Williams. I am a business coach for women wellness entrepreneurs. And I am also into the conscious creation of being able to do things in a way that allows us to show up uniquely and authentically and be well paid for our gifts and to help make people's lives happier and healthier. So I'm super excited to hear more about this whole process that you went through, Jen. So 16 books on the back end. When did you decide that you wanted to write about conscious creation and manifesting?
So I manifested a divorce in early 2019. And when that happened, I realized actually I have a process that I use to make stuff like this happen. And I didn't realize it until it was sort of like hindsight. So after I manifested a divorce, I realized, wow, this is a process. And I've actually been using the same process my entire life. I just didn't know what to call it. So now I call it F the How. And basically, it's my process of getting the things I want without having to figure out the how ahead of time, without having to know all the steps or how I'm going to do it. I just sort of have, this belief and this faith that if I just surrender it, that it will happen. And that tends to be what works really well for me. So that's what my book F the How is about. And then the new book is about identity and really stepping into being the version of yourself who's already there, who already has the things that you want. And in doing that, you basically quantum leap yourself there.
Yeah, totally. Oh my gosh, same thing has happened for me as well. One of the things that I remember when I first started my own business, and I'm sure that you hear this with your clients and the people that you help along the way as well, is they want to know, like, from A to Z, all of the things to do so that there are like no wrong turns to get from here to there.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't happen that way. It doesn't. And if you wait until you have all of those things, then you never end up taking action. Yeah. And when I first opened up my business, I was actually a massage therapist, and I had no idea how to open up a business. I also went through a divorce after being married for 17 years and knew that I wanted to open up my own business so that I could be home for my kids and my boys, and yet had no idea what to do, had never opened a business before myself. And I just took one step and then the next, and then the next, and then the next. And when you talk about, feeling as if, that's so true. That is exactly what I had to do, is to feel like, okay, I can figure this out. And to feel as if the business was happening, and it was. And yet I see so many people getting stuck, putting their dreams on the back burner because they can't see the whole how of how it's going to happen. And so they get scared, and so they don't ever put those things into action. What would you say to them?
Well, I would say first is getting clear on what you want. So you can't create it, you can't consciously manifest it, whatever you want to call it, if you're not clear on what it is. So that's always your first step, is getting clear.
Mhm,
And the other thing, making sure that the thing you're getting clear on is giving yourself full permission to want what you actually want. Because a
mhm,
lot of times we will sort of water down the version of the thing that we want because we think, well, that's too big, or
mhm.
there's no way that could ever happen, or so, or we're just shooting ourselves into wanting something that we think, is required for us to want, but we really don't actually want it. So first thing is clarity. And if you don't have that, it's hard to do anything else in the process because, you're not going to have any other steps to go for. So that's the first thing. The second thing is recognizing that the how is not your job. So
Mm,
we are in a co-creative energy with the universe, and the universe is always willing to help us out if we're willing to do our part, which is stay out of its way. And part
mhm,
of that is not trying to figure out how. So it's really allowing yourself to believe that you get to have it and then surrendering it to the universe and saying, like an employee, I'm delegating this to you to figure out for me. And I trust that if I do my part, that you will show up and do yours, which is exactly what happens if you can do that.
mhm.
So as you start to move into that next phase, which is really just, okay, you've surrendered it, but now what? You can't just sit there twiddling your thumbs and hope that something will happen. So what
Right.
I say is action is twofold. First, well, really threefold, because one is the inner work, right? So there's always going to be the inner work around, do I really believe I get to have this? Do I really believe this is possible? Is there any other things kind of going on internally that might stop me from taking the action or from feeling that I could have this or believing that I could have this? And that's the first part. And then the next part is what I would say is dual action. One is doing what you already know to do. So no matter what it is you want, there's always going to be something you know to do. So for example, if you want to be an author, you should probably start writing a book, right? That's pretty much something that I would say anyone wanting to be an author would know to do. So as you start taking the actions that you know to do, you'll get inspired actions along the way. So the universe will send you these ideas or nudges or what I call divine downloads, where you'll just be sitting there and then bam, like you get this idea in your head, like, oh, I could do
Mhm.
that, or that'd be kind of cool. So all of that will give you the how. And
Yes.
it's you showing up with doing what you know to do that will bring the other part to come through for you because you're not just sitting there doing nothing because
Yes.
there's
Oh
always
my gosh.
something to do.
You were speaking my language, Bob. We're cut from the same cloth. Divine downloads is the exact same term that I use as
Yeah.
well. And it is so true. Like so many people say, oh, but I don't know what to do, or I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Don't and that's just not true. Like if you really just get quiet for just a moment and say, okay, even if you truly feel like, yeah, I want to do this thing, but I really don't know what to do, at least you can look at what some other people have done
Yeah.
and see, like, okay, well, these three people have done these things this way. And like you said, with writers, or what do all writers do? Well, they probably spend a little bit of time writing.
Yeah.
Like if
Yeah.
you're right, you want to be an author, if you want to publish a book, maybe you actually start writing, or maybe you go interview a writer, or maybe
Yep.
you talk to somebody. So those action pieces absolutely are the ones that are kind of leading you on these little breadcrumbs into the next step. And it's such a perfect example of kind of like, walking by faith, because you can't see the whole journey. You can just kind of see that next breadcrumb. But once you get there, then you really do see the next, and then you do see the next, and you do see the next. So
Yeah.
what is your process called, Jen? I would love to hear a little bit more about the process that you outline in your new book.
So in the new book, it's really about stepping into the version of yourself who already has the things that you want. And you do this in four different ways. You do it with your thoughts, your beliefs, your feelings, and your actions. So it's looking at from that perspective. If I was already there, so let's say if you wanted to be an author, as an example,
Mhm.
if you were already a successful author who had whatever it is you desire to have for that, well, looking at all the different pieces then, well, what would I be thinking on a regular basis? What thoughts would I be having, and what thoughts would I be allowing myself to have? Because a lot of the times we're thinking stuff that's not helpful, that is
Yeah.
going against us having the
Mhm.
things we want. So it's looking at
Absolutely.
that. And then the second would be your beliefs. So am I believing things that align with me being that author?
Mhm.
Or do I have beliefs that say it's not possible, I can't do it, it's never going to happen? Because that's obviously going to stop you in your tracks. So that's stuff to be looking at for alignment as well. Then you're going to want to look at your feelings. So everything we want because we believe having it is going to feel a certain way. And I'm sure that you've heard this. Everyone listening has probably heard this before,
Mhm.
but it's true, right? It's absolutely true. Is that we really want the feeling that we think these things are going to give us. like the feeling of being successful, the feeling of seeing our books out there and having people talk about them and share them and read them. So, and again, this is just an example. You would apply this to whatever it is you desire. And so you create the feelings now. So you look at, what do I believe being a successful author is going to make me feel? And then you would come up with something, most likely. Well, it would make me feel proud of myself. It would make me feel excited. It would make me feel joyful. Okay, how can you create those feelings now? What in your life already makes you feel that way? And what can you bring into your life that would continue to create that feeling for you? And that's what you start doing now. And as you create those feelings now, you're being the version of yourself who has those things. You're feeling it, you're creating that internal state. So, of course, the external world will start to shift and rearrange around that. The other thing being that when you feel a certain way about yourself, you're going to take action in a certain way because you believe, I am this person, I am the successful author.
Yeah.
And so then the next thing would be, what actions would I be taking if I was already there? Well, I would probably have a writing habit. I would probably have a book that I'm working on. I would probably have some author friends that I could be connected with, like a community, whatever. So it's going to be different for everybody and depending on what it is you want. But it's always looking at, if I was already there, what would my thoughts be? What would my beliefs be, my feelings, and the actions that would align with that?
Yes. Oh my gosh, so good. And those little actions that you take from this state of being is what creates more to come in. And I love how you said that the external begins to, there's such a misnomer that it's like we are, like magnetically attracting things to us. It's that we are open to see more of what is available so that we are stepping in and taking that next step, which is, we're not meditating our way to success. You are actually taking the actions that are putting you in the right direction that are going to help you create what it is that you are in the process of already creating. Quantum is just so amazing.
Yeah. And it's, like you said, it's not that we're really attracting things. I mean, we are, but it's more, we're attracting it by our attention, right? Because it's always there. It's already been there.
Yes.
It's just, we never noticed it before. And now it's being presented to us because we're showing up differently internally and with the actions we're taking. So suddenly something that you never would have seen before is like, boom, right in front of your face.
Yeah.
But in the quantum, everything already exists all at the same time. All the possibilities, all the realities, all the options, they already exist. So it is kind of like tuning yourself to that frequency and being able to see more of those things in your reality because you're becoming that version of yourself who would have those things around you and would have those things in your life.
Absolutely. So good. So what are some ways that you've helped people in addition to yourself with creating these things that they want to create in their life?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest thing that I have helped a lot of people with is the clarity aspect of getting really clear on what they want because so often we don't give ourselves permission to want the things that we want. And that in itself becomes sort of like you end up living a mediocre existence or you end up giving yourself less than what you truly want. And so a big part of how I try to help people is to help them to open up to their full desires and their full range of what they actually want and not limiting themselves because they think, well, it's not possible, or I'm not that kind of person, or that can't happen for me, because it can absolutely happen. And, I'm living proof of being able to achieve your dreams. And there's obviously more that I want, but it's just knowing that like I can be open and I can want all the things that I want and not have to feel bad about it or guilty or anything like that. And I think women especially, we're taught that we shouldn't want too much and dreaming too big is a bad thing. And, if you come from a certain background or a certain life experience that you're probably not ever going to get the things that you want. So you should just not even bother, and and so I think it's breaking down that kind of limited thinking and really just helping people to see themselves in a different way and to know that as you do that, anything becomes possible for you.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. It definitely all starts with that belief, of allowing ourselves to own what it is that we want to have, allowing ourselves to step outside, so many of the limiting beliefs that have us play small or not be well paid for what it is that we want to do, or not allowing ourselves to have more than enough, or, all of these crazy cultural entrainments that end up keeping, women and men from really reaching their full potential, which is anything is possible and you can have anything that you want. It's just that there's that limiting belief that keeps us from actually stepping into that experience and creating that for us. So I'm so excited that we've got a book out there that is going to help people not only have the practical steps, right? A lot of books that we hear out there, it's there's a lot of theory, but to also have the practical steps of, okay, and these are the steps and these are how you take, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. I love it.
Yeah. And
So
that is the most important thing to me whenever I write a book, is that it becomes very practical, that you can apply this to your life, because I've read thousands of books over the course of my life.
yeah.
And the biggest frustration I always have with most of them is, one, they're way too long. That's
Mhm.
one of the biggest frustrations. There's 400 pages of just stuff that is just theory and information, but it's not helping me to actually change
Yeah.
anything in my real life. So I like to write books that are sort of short and sweet. I call them like short and sweet, or like concise. And that's because I would want to read something like that. But then the other thing is that I try to be as practical as possible, because that's just the kind of person I am. Like I'm very visionary, and I'm very much like, good at understanding the spiritual concepts and stuff. But it wasn't until I started to apply them in my own life and have practice around that, that things started to actually change. And so I want to make sure that when I write books, that that's one of the main things that I focus on is this practical? Could somebody read this? And actually, that's one of the things I always ask my editor when she edits, is like, I always tell her, read this like you're the most cynical person on the planet,
Mhm.
and like tear it apart and tell me, does this actually seem like you could implement this? Does this feel like you could read this book and suddenly you could change something in your life right away? You could start taking action. You could,
Mhm.
so that's always really important to me, because I think we are practical. Like, yes, it's great to know that like we work with the universe and we've got spiritual
Mhm.
concepts and laws that help us, but at the end of the day, we still need practical things in
Yeah.
order to make changes.
Yeah, exactly. And we need to know what to do and how to do it, right? Like
Yeah.
that's, that is the way kind of our brains are designed, is to solve problems and to also take a look at, okay, like what's the next step and what's the next step. It's the saying that you can't meditate your way to success is really true. Meditation is helpful for sure,
Yeah.
but there is no magic wand where we're just like, okay, let me just wave the magic wand and all of a sudden everything is going to magic here just because we want it is a process of inner game, belief, thoughts, feelings, and then also acting upon those in order to go in the direction that is going to lead you to having more and to open up into not only those divine downloads, but those serendipitous meetings or
Yeah.
experiences or the emails that just pop in, or somebody introduces you to a friend that just happens to know the exact person that
Yep.
you
Yep.
need to like talk to next. It's crazy.
Exactly. Exactly. It's so true. And the other thing being that when you work with the emotion part first, when you work on the inner game first, the actions can be almost anything for
Yeah.
what you're doing, right? Because the whole thing is that the energy is really what matters. So if you're
Mhm.
creating the emotional state of the thing you want, and the way you figure that out, like I said, is you know what you want, and then you ask yourself, well, what emotions do I believe I would have? Well,
Mhm.
that answer would be different for everybody. And so whatever it is for you, that's your frequency for that thing.
Mhm.
So it's creating those emotions, and then as you do that, it's almost like, not that the actions take themselves, but they almost sort of just become easier. They
Mhm.
become like something you don't feel like you have to be pushing yourself to do, because
Yeah.
you just like, you feel like, oh yeah, this is just who I am now. This is what I do. It feels like more natural, like a kind of extension of who you are, versus like, okay, I have to force myself to
Mhm.
like take these actions. So I always say, like, if you feel like you're forcing something, you're probably trying to figure out the how. And
Yeah.
that's when
Yeah.
you want to step back and you want to look more at the emotional state. What is the emotional state? And let's say it's joy. Well, joy
Mhm.
can be created in a number of different ways for everybody, right? It's different. So it's what creates joy for you. Do more of that stuff. And as
Mhm.
you create that feeling, that's when the things that also are joyful will start showing themselves to you in your life. And
Mhm.
so it's interesting, because we think like the masculine energy way of doing things is have a to-do list and all the steps ahead of time and figure it out and have a plan. But really, you don't have to do that. I mean, yes, it is a balance between, you have to take action. There's always going to be things to do, but there's never anything that you have to do. And I think that's the most important thing, is knowing that there are always different actions, and you don't have to choose a path that doesn't feel good to you. You
Yeah.
can do it in a way that you enjoy, because at the end of the day, it's really about the journey, because when you get where you're going, it's just going to feel like now, and there's going to be something else. So
Yes. Oh
it's,
my
how
gosh.
can I
Yes.
enjoy this moment right now?
Yes.
And find ways to do that, even though I may not have the things that I want yet, even though I'm still working on it. Like, how can I still find ways to feel good now, enjoy the moment now as much as possible?
So what do you say to people who are like, okay, I'm doing the thought work, I'm doing the feeling work, and yet there's still a gap between me feeling the joy and having the thing that I actually want to have?
I would say, I mean, first, there's always going to be a time frame that it takes, and we don't ever get to decide that time frame. So it could take 6 months, it could take a year, it could take longer.
Mhm.
And so you have to make peace with the fact that, like, it may not happen right away. And so that's why I say every day, enjoy the journey, find ways to create those feelings for yourself now as much as possible. And as you do that, like, those things may not happen right away, but you're feeling the emotional state that you want. And that in itself is valuable, I
Right.
think.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that emotional state being an actual resonance that is what kind of helps draw more of those match experiences
Yeah.
in your
So
awareness?
when I was manifesting my divorce, so this was, at the time I didn't decide I'm manifesting a divorce. What happened was I was fed up with my relationship. I didn't know what to do anymore. I was like, some days it's great, some days it sucks. And I just didn't know what to do anymore. And so I was like, I'm going to surrender this to the universe and ask the universe to figure it out for me. If it's the right relationship, I believe that it will shift in some way and
Mhm.
become what I desire to have. And if it's not, I ask that he break up with me so I know for sure that was the correct outcome, so that I couldn't argue my way out of it or try to say that whatever. So after I did that, it was like, okay, what do I do next? And the first thing that came to me was feel good, find
Mhm.
ways to feel good. And so as I did that, and it was just little things every day. I'm going to take my dog to the lake and we're going to go for a walk. I'm going to work out today. I'm
Mhm.
going to spend the middle of my day watching a movie because that's what I feel like doing. And I work for myself, so that's a little easier than,
Mhm.
for some other people maybe, but it's just an example. But it was just like little things. And as I started to do more of those things that felt really good to me, it seemed like two things happened. One was that more things showed up that like made me feel really good. So like I would think of something else like, oh, I could do this, or oh, I could do that. Or I would get invited to go do something with my friends, or something would happen where I could kind of continue creating that state of feeling good. The other thing was that just things would randomly start happening that were not necessarily aligned with like getting divorced, but were just like cool things to kind of show me it's happening, it's working, even though it doesn't in this like path
Mhm.
make sense until you get there. And then you can look back in hindsight and see, oh, all of those things were adding up to this. But it was just like little things. Like I would go to a restaurant for dinner with my ex-husband, and like I would order something and they would send me the wrong thing first, and then they would bring me two of it. So I ended up with two of the same meal, but it was like abundance. And I just kept feeling like all these little things were happening where it just seemed like things were shifting, even though I couldn't explain it and it didn't make logical sense. I just kept feeling like this is working, this is working. And then when it finally happened, which he did sit down one day and say, I don't know how to say this, but I want a divorce. And I was thinking, wow, this worked. Um, uh, like amazingly, it worked. I mean, not that I didn't think it would work, but I just I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. Cause like I said, I didn't choose the outcome. I asked the universe to figure it out. So it was like all of those moments of stepping into feeling good, giving myself permission to watch the movie when I should have been working, or giving
Mhm.
myself permission to go to the lake and walk the dog and take a little bit longer than I usually would, or things like that were adding up to this thing happening. So it's like logically, it doesn't make sense. But if you just kind of follow the journey of this feels really good to me,
Mhm.
that in itself will add up to the things that you desire to have. That's actually my saying is feeling good is the point and the path. I actually tattooed it on my arm because it's like that is
Can you say
so
that again?
meaningful to me.
What
Feeling
was?
good is the point and the path.
Yep.
So it's the point
Yes.
of what you want, and it's also the path to get there. And the
Yes.
thing that's really cool is when you're in that feel good state. Now, again, you don't have to be in it 100% of the time because we're human. That's not going to happen. We're going
Mhm.
to have moments where we don't feel good, and that's okay too. But when you are in that feel good state, that's when those desire or those divine downloads and ideas and the nudges, they can come to you because you're on the path that those same things are on, right? Because those things feel good and you feel good. So now they show themselves to you and you can continue to kind of step more and more in that direction.
Love that. Love that so much. Yeah. And I love that you say that feeling good is the point and the path,
Yeah.
because it really is. And whenever you get off the feeling piece, or at least for me, I think of feelings as kind of like my emotional GPS system. And
Yeah.
whenever when I feel like I'm in force or hustle or it feels hard, that just tells me that whatever I'm thinking or trying to do is actually out of alignment with really what my desire is.
Yeah.
And so tapping in and just realizing, okay, this doesn't feel good right now. How can I do something, even if it's thinking something that makes me feel good, even if it doesn't have anything to do with my business or anything to do with the thing that I desire.
Yeah.
And for me, that's my son. I'm Gabe, so I'm always, he comes up and he gives me a big hug. Mommy, I love you. You're just like the best mommy ever. And I go there. I'm like, yeah, when I think of that makes me feel good, or going outside or grounding or being in nature or someplace where I know that I feel, and it's different for everybody. So, not everything that Jen does is going to work for me, and not everything that I do is going to work for everybody, but we find things that allow us to get back into that feeling state.
Yeah.
Then the ideas pop in, right?
Yeah. And the other thing that happens is that sometimes when you get yourself in that state, things just start happening. So like the week I launched Quantum Leap Your Life, the week it came out, like 3 or 4 days after the launch, I discovered this series of movies on Netflix, and I'm obsessed with romantic comedies or like romantic movies, just my obsession. It's what I write. I love it. And so I found these movies and I'm like, oh, I should be doing book promo stuff and I should be doing whatever, but like, whatever, I'm going to watch these movies. So I binged all 3 movies this one Friday, right after the book came out. And I was like, well, whatever, like I'll do book promo stuff later. It's fine. Well, I was in such a high feeling state in that moment, just watching those movies and like feeling the emotions that were being created in this movie, that funnily enough, one of the TikTok videos, so this guy made a TikTok video reviewing this book, and I had just found it. And I couldn't believe it. I was amazed. And it ended up going viral. So it got like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 views in that time frame while I was sitting there watching those movies. So while I was sitting there indulging in these movies and feeling really good, I was selling tons of books without even doing anything.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. So the
so like
logical brain is like, no, you're doing the wrong thing. You should
Right, exactly.
You should be doing the thing over here.
Right. It was like, oh, I should be sending more emails or talking more about the book or making more videos about it. But I was like, no, I just really want to watch these movies right now. and again, like I'm a storyteller. So for me, movies are one of the ways that I create emotional states for myself. But in doing that, it was like that video went viral and now all these people started. I mean, I made like almost 100 sales in that week just from the energy and the emotional state that I'd created. So it was just really cool to see that like you don't always have to do the things you think are required to make something happen. If you create the emotional state, sometimes those things sort of happen on their own, which is
oh my gosh, so good. Yes. Now,
obviously I wrote a book, I launched it, I put it out there, so I did things.
Yes,
but then it was like riding that wave of the emotion and not trying to force myself to do what most people would try to do during a book launch is, I have a to-do list and I have to do all these things. And it was like, I'm just going to watch these movies.
I love it. That is so cool. Let's go ahead and I want to, are you okay to take a couple questions if there's any questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Here? Awesome. Absolutely. So welcome everybody. Do you have any questions for Jen around around her book, Quantum Leap Your Life, or any questions around the topic that we're talking about with conscious creation and the feeling state of guiding you into that next breadcrumb or that next thing to do? Go ahead and come off mute and or raise your hand and we can open this up to answer any questions you have. Hey, Pedro.
Hi.
Welcome. I love your purple wall.
Oh, thank you.
Your butterfly. Is that a butterfly?
Yeah, it's a blue butterfly.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much. Nice to meet you, Jen.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I have a question about I got the book, but I haven't read it yet. So I don't know if I'm gonna if the answer is in the book, just tell me. So a few weeks ago, just when you were launching the book, the new book, I was about to get my new pressure socks. I wear pressure socks because I suffer from a pulmonary thromboembolism 2019. And I was about to get, I got a great deal, I manifested like half the prices of the pressure socks. And I said, I'm gonna get 4. And I wanted to manifest 3 pairs. So I got 4 pairs, and but I was thinking at the same time, are you acting as if? Because on my mind, I was like, should I not get them because I should believe I am healed 100% and all that? So I was like, and I thought of you, I was like, damn, I need to ask that to Jen because I'm about to get 4, and this is the first time I will ever get more. But I also manifested a great deal. So I was like debating with that idea. And at the same time, I was like, no, but I do it because I love myself. So that's why I'm taking care of myself. But at the same time, I was having these two different thoughts. So that's the question.
Yeah. So I see what you're saying. So you're saying by buying the socks, are you not acting as if you're ever going to heal from it? So what I would say is obviously we have the things we're manifesting, the things that we're creating and stepping into, but then we also have our current reality to deal with. And so in this case, it's both, right? It's buy the socks because right now you need them, and knowing that in the future you will be healed and you may not need them anymore, but right now you do. And so I think it's both, right? It's giving yourself permission to do what you need to do now, knowing that this is just a step in the journey of healing. This is going to help you start to feel better. It's going to help you to do whatever is required. So I think it's both.
All right. So yeah, I like that because I was a little bit like, confused. But what helped me make the decision and manifest that was made the decision out of love. Like I'm doing this because I'm taking care of myself. And like I said, I was wanting to manifest 3 pairs, but they're kind of expensive. So I called to the store. They told me, oh, we don't have your size. And this is the price. And I was like, damn, they're too pricey. So my first impulse was like, Google them and let's see if we find another store. And maybe they're going to be more expensive because that's how it is. But no, I researched them on Amazon and got like 50% off. And I was like, damn. And I got, like I said, 4 pairs and I got more discounts. I was like, oh my God, this was a great manifestation. So, but thank you. I'm gonna keep embracing the present and know that I'm doing the right thing. And that's why I manifested them.
Yeah, Pedro, I love how you switch that into, I'm doing this because of taking care of you, but also you did it from love, right? So instead of taking, action from a place of fear of, oh, but if I don't have the things, then you were like, you know what? No, I get to do this. I'm doing it. I'm going to take care of my body. And I think that feeling, that Jen was talking about, when it feels good, that is the indicator, right? That's the signpost.
Yeah. And maybe this is one of the steps that actually does move you in the direction of healing and being, that healed version of yourself as well.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Totally. Laurie, Amanda, Elaine, Mary, Max, anybody have any questions for Jen today? We have a quiet group today.
That's okay. If you want to put them in the chat box as well, if you don't want to actually come on, you don't have to come on or talk or anything. It's totally cool.
Absolutely.
You just want to type
it in the chat. Cool. So where do you find most people get stuck in this process, Jen? Because I know when I hear it and we hear it at the beginning, it's like, it sounds so easy, right?
Yeah.
All we have to do is think a thought that makes us feel good.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't quite go that way.
I think where people get mostly stuck is the action, because they think, well, what if I do this and it doesn't work? And so it's almost like, well, I might as well just not. Or it's, I'll wait until I'm seeing more things happening, or I'll wait until, and then I'll do this. And a lot of times, and this, I actually say this in the book, a lot of times the action can override the beliefs, the thoughts, all of that stuff that isn't aligned yet. So like if maybe have some negative thoughts going on still, or you're not fully believing that this is going to happen for you, but you're willing to set that aside temporarily and just take some action anyway. A lot of times the action itself overrides that other stuff. It just makes you feel different because you think, oh, I did that. It's not a big deal. I can do this. Like, it's not that hard, or it's easier than I thought it would be, or whatever. So I think the action piece is the part where people get stuck, I think, because they just feel like, well, I should wait, or I should hold on until I'm at a place that I think, okay, now it's time. But really it's like, just do it now, right? The more you can give yourself permission to just, even small things, right? So it doesn't have to be something big. Like, let's say you want to manifest more money. Something as simple as buying yourself a better wallet can change the way you feel, can change the way you handle your money, right? Because suddenly you're looking at this beautiful wallet that's holding your dollars and your bills and your credit cards or whatever you have. And that changes your emotional state around money just by doing that tiny little thing, right? So it's not always about a huge action. Like I need to hire a money coach, or I need to sign up for some, investment program or something. It's like, sometimes it's just little tiny things that you do that can change the way you feel. So I think that would help as well.
I love that. So Amanda says she doesn't have a question, but she is looking forward to getting your book on Saturday. Yay! And I'm so glad that the webinar is serving you, Amanda. Awesome. What if you have a hard time summoning the emotion you're supposed to feel when acting as if? Is just knowing something is meant for you enough? Is our question for Mary. Mary, thank you for the question.
Yeah. So if you're, first of all, supposed to feel, let's cut that out, right? There's no supposed to's in this. So if you feel like you're supposed to feel something, no, don't do that to yourself. Don't force yourself to try to feel something that you think you're supposed to feel. This is about what you believe you will feel, that you actually want to feel, right? That you feel aligned with. Like, I want to feel joyful. I want to feel grateful. I want to feel, lit up or excited or whatever it is for you. I always say, if you either don't know what the emotional state would be specifically, or if you're just like, I don't know how to create it, then you default to just feel good in general. And I think feeling good in general is one of the easier ways, because there are so many things you can think of that can make you feel good. And it can be simple things like walking outside in nature, hugging your dog, like spending time with your kid, doing things that you enjoy. Like for me, I love to like get dressed up, and I love to like wear rings and get my nails done and stuff like that. So little things like that can make you feel really good. I love to drive in my Jeep with the windows down and just like feeling the breeze and listening to music that I love. So it's make yourself a list of what makes you feel good. It can be anything, literally anything. And now you know different things you can do to create an emotional state of feeling good. And that in itself is enough. It doesn't always have to be the specific emotion that you think you'll feel. It can just be in general, at least for the time being. And then as you move through your journey, you may notice, oh, well, when I do these certain emotions, this stuff happens, or this starts to happen. And then you might kind of get clearer on what does cause that emotional state for you. And then you could do that stuff more often. And I talk all about this in the book, as far as like how to actually create emotional states and different ways to do that. So the chapter on feelings will cover that for you as well.
Awesome. Such a great question, Mary. And I love that you talked about there really isn't an emotion that we're supposed to feel, that if the shoulds or the need or the have to or that feeling comes in, I mean, that in itself is a contracted feeling, right? Whenever we, say, oh, I'm not doing it right, right? I'm not feeling the right thing. Then that is, again, tuning back into your emotional GPS system. That's not quite in alignment with feeling good. We feel like we're not doing something that we're supposed to be doing. So I love how you were able to speak into that. Thank you so much, Jen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Welcome, Evelia. I am not sure how to pronounce your name, and I'm so sorry. I think I still have COVID brain. I'm just coming through COVID. Elaine and yay. Who else has a question? We would love to have you ask Jen some questions. What are the questions? Everybody keeps switching on my screen. So Jen, where can we find your book?
So it is on Amazon. If you go to dreamlifeorbust.com, it will take you straight to all my books, and you'll find it there as well. Otherwise, you could just go on Amazon and search Quantum Leap Your Life and my name, it will come up. Yeah, that's the best place, I would say.
Fantastic. Awesome. Any other questions that have popped up in the meantime? Pedro, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I don't know when was the last time we talked, Jen, but I've been practicing a lot. I mean, in addition to what you said about that people sometimes we get impatient on the manifestation because we want the thing so bad, or we need the thing right now, or we believe that we need the thing right now. Yep. The last most perhaps beautiful manifestation after I had a chat with you is that I went to nature, one of my favorite places, knowing that I could manifest another blue butterfly, because that's what I usually manifest when I believe God is talking to me. So at that time, for the first time, I knew I could manifest her being there.
Mm.
Usually, I didn't want to think that I could manifest a blue butterfly because usually when I did, they didn't show up.
Yeah.
So this time I was in the mountain and I was like, breathing the breeze and all that, being present, admiring the big leaves of some plants, and just being a child in nature. And I knew that the blue butterfly could be around. So I started to actually record a new TikTok because I launched a new TikTok account, and I was just having fun. So suddenly, when I was doing that, I saw the blue butterfly flew just in front of me. She crossed from right to left, and I was like, "Oh my God!" And I got distracted, but I decided to see the blue butterfly and follow her. But she flew so fast, and she was this really big, and I was like, "Oh my God!" I was grateful. I was like, first time I manifest a blue butterfly, knowing I could manifest her like fast, like. So I kept exploring the mountain. I was enjoying it and all that. So I came down and I decided to declare some stuff from now on, about myself and my business. And then I was driving, coming down the hills, something that I love to do. And then another blue butterfly uh, flying in front of me as I was driving from, again, right to left. And I was like more excited. I was manifesting more. I was declaring more stuff. I was feeling more joyful, happy. And then another blue butterfly, boom. So I was like, yeah, three. And a year ago, I manifested three blue butterflies, like exactly a year ago. And I was like, oh my God, thank you, God. Three blue butterflies. This is awesome. I know this is a message, this and that. And then another one. And I was like, oh my God, this is definitely a new record. So and all the way for the first time ever, a lot of little butterflies were flying, like guiding me through the mountain, like from going and coming back. And that was the first time and that happened to me, and I knew, and I was grateful because I was very present in the while I was driving. Usually I like to see, when I'm driving, I like to see nature, but this time I was like, no, maybe the butterflies are making me be present in the moment. So, and that's just one of the many examples after we had the last chat, and it's practice, and now it feels way more easy, but it's just practice and being patient.
Yeah, I think it's the lower resistance to seeing the butterflies and to having good things happening. That definitely changes, right? Because you have the expectation now that it's possible and you can do it. So it makes it happen a lot easier and a lot more in abundance for that reason too.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What a great story.
No, thank you. If you want to, the quickest manifestation was this Sunday. I manifested a new puppy. She was sleeping right there.
I saw her on Facebook.
Oh yeah. We woke up and we realized that somebody tried to steal something in the house, and my late dog passed away 3 months ago. So I was waiting like the chance to get a new dog, but I wanted to adopt her. So that was Sunday morning, and I said to my mom, okay, we need a new dog. I went outside, I talked to God, I was grateful, I was feeling the breeze, because there was some breeze. And I said the things that I usually said when I manifest, and like a couple hours later, I was with the new puppy. We found a new puppy that I could adopt. So that was the quickest, perhaps consciously manifesting. I like wanting to manifest something, and that was the quickest. So again, thank you, Jen.
Yeah. So you're doing the after how thing, which is the surrendering, right? The letting it go and knowing you don't have to figure out how, and that it will show up for you. The more you just don't worry about how, and you just trust that it's going to happen. And this phrase I've been using lately that's helped a ton for me with just surrendering and all of that is, thank you, universe, for showing me how good it can get. And just seeing what happens. And it's been interesting because so many cool things have happened just from me saying that. And it's like, not only with my book stuff, but just in life in general. So I try to say that as often as possible now.
Yay. So
Yeah.
will you say that again? Thank you, universe, for showing
Thank you,
me how good-
universe, Yeah, for showing me how good it can get. Or you can say God, whatever you prefer. I prefer just saying the universe. But thank you, universe, for showing me how good it can get.
Amazing. So good. Jen, thank you so much for being
Absolutely.
here and sharing you and your book. So F the How and Quantum Leap Your Life, 2 books that you can get for helping you step into and create what it is that you want to create in life in definitely a much more easeful way than trying to force it and trying to plan and make sure all of the things are lined up and you're taking exactly the right steps. I love when we can allow ourselves to have more of that grace and that spaciousness to open up to really what is possible there, instead of thinking that it can only come through this one window.
Yeah, because that's so limiting, right? It's so limiting. And when you don't do that and you surrender it and you do things like, thank you for showing me how good it can get, you see it in different ways. And that is, to me, it's so fun because it's like, wow, how am I going to be shown today that it can be really good? How am I, and you could use different ways of saying that. You could say, thank you for showing me the abundance that's surrounding me. Thank you for showing me the joy that's surrounding me. Like whatever you want to use as the phrase. And in doing that, the universe is seeing you're surrendered to and open to the possibility of seeing these things. And so it starts to show them to you, right? Like you were saying, it's not that we attract things, but that we just see more of the things because we're open to it. And it's very much the same thing. So have fun with this, right? Because at the end of the day, and I think that's exactly what the point that Pedro was making too, was that it's about just being open to it and having fun, right? Not trying to force it, just enjoying it and just finding ways to be present in the moment and to allow yourself permission to just have fun and see what happens. Like, don't make this like such a hard thing. Like it can be very joyful, fun, expansive experience to manifest the things that you want.
Absolutely. So good. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for your time today. Jen, thank you for being here. This has been so super fun. I cannot wait to share more of you out into the world. This message is something that we absolutely need to help empower more men and more women to actually create with more ease and flow and fun. And I am definitely going to be writing down, fun is the point and the path. Love that. Love that so much. Cool. So everybody have a great evening. Where can we find you, Jen? I know we can find you on Amazon. Where else can we find you?
So my website is jenniferblanchard.net. So that's a great place to find me. And I've got tons of blog posts and all kinds of content on there as well. The main social media channels I'm on Facebook at The Feel Good Life, also on Instagram. But my most active channel is TikTok. And that one is F the How, but with F spelled out. So if you find me there, and I've got tons of videos about manifesting and all the stuff we've been talking about here. And that should give you a really good place to start as far as extra information and all of that.
Fantastic. And you can find me on Facebook. My page is Chris Williams, Shine Abundance Now. And this interview will be there. I also am hosting a masterclass on Monday for those of you that are wellness entrepreneurs or building and growing holistic practice. We are talking about how to create a cash infusion in your business. So we are going to give you a little bit of the how, a little bit of the practical pieces, but we always start from that inner game, from that inner mindset, that way of being first. The formula that we use is the inner game combined with those little steps. The practical, the strategy is what actually helps us to create abundance. And so come join me over inside of that page, and I will drop the link in the comments there. It's a free event. We're actually going to be doing it at 2 times, 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. All are welcome, totally complimentary. So Jen, it's so great to connect with you. I can't wait to do it again.
Absolutely. You too.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.